Yes, yes, yes. It is the Castworthy Podcast, and we are back. It is Sunday, March 5th, Cinco de Marcho, uh, and we're here. It is the 4 year anniversary of the pod. We've been doing this for 4 years, bringing content on and off. Some missed weeks, but pretty consecutive and consistently. Um, Myself, Last Dying Breed, aka, or, I'm sorry, Big Steve, aka Last Dying Breed on the Twitter machine, with VP here today, and of course our third horseman, um, like on brand. Once every 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be without EJ the Savage, who is probably out doing some type of savagery,
some kind
because
of some kind of debauchery.
yeah, I don't know what the weather's like up there. I know there was some snow and stuff, but definitely something irresponsible.
Yeah.
Um. All right, so let's get started really quick. I know you didn't see it, but Chris Rock um had his live special last night. Netflix did this thing. It was a live broadcast of a comedy show or stand up, right? And it was probably the first of its kind. I don't think I've ever seen one live like that. Like, anything could go down, anything could happen, anything could be said. But anyway,
Hmm.
they did their live broadcast. They called it their live worldwide broadcast event, and it was Chris Rock, year post smack heard around the world, and he called it. It was called Selective Outrage.
Hmm.
And for those who didn't see it, it is still on Netflix to be watched at this point. It's about an hour and some change. You get all the way through. If you're going there just for the Will Smith piece that he spoke about, just fast forward to like the last 15 minutes, because that whole first part, there's no talk about it at all. Um, but in that last 10 to 15 minutes, he got to it. He got to it, and I know you didn't get to see it except for some clips, and you'll probably see it all over Twitter and get to it on Netflix when you get a chance.
Hmm.
Basically started off in and kind of told a little bit of the story, indicating, this is not, he didn't start the shit. You know what I mean? This was, Jada Pinkett Smith, where it kind of all started. People didn't really know. We heard some pieces of it. And I guess whenever, I don't know when Concussion came out a few years ago, remember that movie coming out.
Hmm.
And Jada felt like Will should have won an Oscar that year, and he didn't. I don't even think he was nominated that year, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe he was nominated, didn't win. Whatever. Chris Rock says that she got upset and said that Chris Rock should be fired, shouldn't be allowed to host the Oscars again, because of course Chris Rock is the one who makes the decisions, right?
Right.
Um,
And if I remember correctly, I believe that was the year that she started that Oscar so white hashtag.
yes, yeah, and she kind of broke the internet with it, and
Hmm.
people were with it. People were with it. Then so he was like, "That's what happened, right?" She said that. And he was like, this is how it goes. If you start some shit, I'm going to finish it. Right. So she pops up and, I had jokes. So I made jokes. And, he made a point to say, like, listen, everybody was joking about them. Right. They decided to take, and we said it too. They decided to take to the internet and have this conversation for whatever reason about the mental health issue that what we consider mental health issues they were dealing with, but their family issues, where she went out and fucked her son's friend, which is what Chris Rock said.
Hmm.
He was like, Will Smith's wife went out and fucked her son's friend, and they took to the internet and spoke about it. Everyone was calling him crazy. People were calling her a predator, all types of wild shit. And he took that opportunity, to take it out on Chris Rock. And he's like, it doesn't look like it on camera, but there's a major difference in size. He was like, I've always supported this guy. Like, I've loved his music. I love his movies, all of that shit. But he did some bitch shit, basically. And he attacked someone that he knew he could beat. He didn't go
Hmm.
after nobody else, but went after the guy he could beat. Um, and I felt like he did a pretty good job addressing it. He was like, it was some bitch shit. He did make sure he got some disrespect in there. Definitely got some disrespect in there. I was like, nobody was targeting that bitch, and was directing that at Jada. So I see what he tried to do there. And obviously you can't just be fully cordial after this guy done smacked the shit out of you in front of
Right.
the world. Like, you gotta send some shots that way, and he did that, and he addressed. I thought he did a good job addressing it, and a lot of people. I think now that he started addressing it, we'll see more people. Like we saw Marlon Wayne's, has something on Showtime where he talked in depth about it, made some jokes and stuff. But yeah, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. I didn't know it was like live. That's interesting. They did it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I usually prefer to watch. I mean, I've only been to like a handful of like live comedy shows to begin with, but I've always kind of liked watching the specials just because the audio is better. You can kind of get those good crowd shots, on certain jokes or whatever. It's almost like with Hamilton. I'm pretty sure like seeing Hamilton in person is an experience, but I think it's just better watching it on Disney Plus. You're getting all the angles you don't get sitting in your seat at the theater, But anyway, that's pretty cool. They did it that way. The other thing that I was gonna say is that I almost wonder if, like, because you sent the clip in the chat of him saying, like, why didn't I, people are wondering why I didn't respond, et cetera, et cetera. And almost wonder if him, like, roasting them in a comedy special has a bigger impact as a response versus, like, getting into a fight with Will Smith, because he likely would probably lose that fight,
Oh, he
and
definitely lose that fight.
Now you're roasting her, and you can continue to roast her on tour, and then that shit just like lives in infamy.
Yeah, and even, I mean, I don't think there's anyone that hasn't heard about it, right? But you would think everyone has. But if there's anyone out there for some reason that's under a rock and didn't see or hear about the smack heard around the world, they'll find out about it. They could potentially hear about it with this tour. So yeah, I think you're on point there. There's that piece, and it also gives you a year, right? Well, it gave him a year to come up with how he wanted to address it. When you're talking about next day or 2 days later, when people are like, "Oh, talk to us about what happened," you might say something that you don't want to say, or you might not. You might be speaking from emotion, right? You're speaking directly out of emotion, from the heart, out of anger, versus sitting down, calculating what you're going to say, telling a true, factual story, which is what he did, and getting your shit off, and still throwing a little bit of disrespect. Hey, listen, right up front, listen, if you didn't know, Will Smith's wife fucked her son's best friend. Like, that's you know what I'm saying? Even if all you know is a smack, but you don't know that they was having an entanglement, boom.
Right.
Now that's out there, and that's gonna live in digital space, like you said, forever.
Yeah.
50 years from now, someone digs up and watches this special, they're gonna hear about Will Smith's wife. Family lineage has to live with that. So
right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, especially with comedy, like the way it lives, like you think about something like Eddie Murphy's Raw, right? I never saw Eddie Murphy's Raw until I became an adult, and that shit came out in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I could imagine, somebody who's a big fan of Chris Rock, they thought this special was one of his better ones. Like, their kid becomes an adult, and is 15 years from now, and they're like, let's check this thing out or whatever. It's really funny. And then, you watch it. Yeah, some of the jokes might go over their head because they don't understand like something that he might be talking about that's very specific to the time, right? But for the most part, they'll be able to follow it along. And then they say, what happened with Will Smith? Oh, let me, he put up this YouTube video, or whatever we're using for video, and then you show them the smack, and then it's like, so that's what he's, boo, boo, boo. And then right. Okay, cool. You know, then
Yeah.
your kid goes to school and says, "Man, my dad showed me this video of Will Smith smacking the shit out of this guy, and then listen to this joke that he made about his wife." So
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, man. I thought he did pretty good. I thought it was smart of him to hold it to the end, keep the audience, and I think it's interesting that Netflix did it live, like you said. This is like could open up doors to so much stuff. It was cool because they still panned out to the audience. You still got to see people laughing in real time. You know what I mean? Similarly, if you were watching it as a special, so that was pretty dope. It was clear as shit. Still, you had a really good view. This could turn into like concerts and all types of shit like that. Where people get the opportunity to monetize digitally. We're living in a digital age, right? And we're moving to a space where we'll be in that in the verses, right? The metaverse and whatever other verses come out. And what's the difference between me watching I mean, of course, it's a lot different today if I'm at the place versus watching it from home. But if I'm watching from home in the metaverse and it's live, I'm getting a very similar experience. Sure, I didn't travel, I don't have people around me, I'm not touching, I'm not hearing everything exactly the same, but it's still it can change the way you see things and the way entertainment is delivered going forward.
Yeah, I agree, man.
So shout out to Netflix on that, man. They're trying to find a way to pioneer some stuff and not be the blockbuster that they made Blockbuster be, because everyone's catching up. All these channels, ABC has their own shit, NBC has their own shit, Disney, HBO, Showtime, everyone has their own shit. They're all coming out with their direct content or exclusive content. And so Netflix, they're living on the old stuff, and they've got some exclusive shit, but realistically the exclusive shit that you're seeing on it doesn't really compare to ABC, HBO in most cases. I mean, they've got some hits, but
and what's crazy is I literally watched a YouTube video yesterday that was talking about the video was about like why are so many shows getting canceled, and they had a bunch of shows that were like Netflix shows specifically that have been canceled, and they were saying like Netflix essentially uses this model that if if a show doesn't get like a certain percentage of viewership in the first season, they cancel it. And they were saying like, is this a like their argument was like, is this a good or a bad thing? Because they were saying like, you have some shows that don't get off the ground and become these phenoms right away. And like two shows they use as an example, one was that show Parks and Recreation. I actually have never watched that show. I heard it's like a really good comedy series, even though I've never watched it. But they were saying in the first season, the show was like struggling, and then they went back in between the season 1, season 2 break, and they kind of like revamped some things, changed up some of the stuff. They basically were trying to make it like I think it's Amy Poehler is in that show. And they were trying to make her like Steve Carell from The Office, like the woman version of Steve Carell, and they were like that shit wasn't working, and so they went back and kind of like revamped that character some, and then revamped like some of the other stuff around the show, and then they were saying that's when it took off. And then another one they used was Game of Thrones, which I didn't realize this, but they were saying everybody looks at Game of Thrones in hindsight as being like this phenom show, and they was like, while the ratings were really good when it started off, Game of Thrones actually didn't start hitting those crazy ratings numbers until like midway through season 3, and then starting with season 4 is when it kind of became that like everybody is watching this shit all over the planet kind of type show. And so they were saying if you're canceling shows like after one season because these numbers didn't come in a certain way, are you going to miss the next Game of Thrones? Are you going to miss the next Succession or Games or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to let it breathe. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting that right person to watch it to make it go viral. Shit, look at Abbott Elementary. Abbott Elementary, I thought was really good.
I love that show.
A lot of people think that show is amazing now, right? But when it first came out, I don't think they were doing so hot. At least for me, I hadn't even heard of the shit. when it first came out. But I think it's a really good show, and there's a lot of shows that are like that. And so I guess you kind of have that leeway if you're ABC or an NBC or an HBO who has endless amounts of funds. I just don't know that Netflix has that, especially when you have people canceling because they keep, one, raising their prices, two, they're trying to, they're basically taking everything that people like Netflix for, which is being able to share their passwords, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prices were low, you were able to see whatever anything you want at a pretty good rate. And people are starting to cancel it because they have other options and other opportunities out there. Especially, you got like these Samsung smart TVs and Vizios and stuff. Now they have their little free TV content that they put out. You got people like Tubi, right? That's 100% free. Like, hey, our movies are shit, but it's free, and people are watching shit for for entertainment.
Yeah.
So why am I going to pay Netflix $18 a month to be able to stream a movie? And now they're talking about, oh, if you wanted an ultra HD, pay me an extra $4.99. Like, they're getting too fucking they're getting what's the word, greedy, if you will.
Greedy, nickel and diamond.
Yeah, man. And it's gonna I think it's gonna cause them to lose some people, man.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said that, because they kind of talked about exactly what you're saying in that YouTube video. And they were saying that this policy that Netflix has of canceling shows if it doesn't reach a certain percentage is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because they were saying, like, people have started to say, well, I'm not going to get into a Netflix show until it ends, because I don't want to watch a show and then it gets canceled after the second season and I don't know what the fuck I've invested time in this show and I don't know how it ends. And then so now your Netflix, you put something out and then people don't watch it because they're like, I'm not going to get into this shit, and it ended after one season, and you're like, oh, I guess this show's trash, and so you throw it away. And they were saying that's what happened with that show. I think you talked about this show actually, 1899. Or was it EJ?
I think it was EJ. I've
like
seen it, but I didn't watch it.
Okay. I feel like I was talked about on the pod at one point. But they were saying that's what happened with that show. They were saying that show was good. It was building towards something, and it was getting all this buzz. It didn't hit Netflix's percentage, and they canceled it, and people are like, yo, what the fuck? So
yeah. I think what also with Netflix, it's not sustainable to put full seasons out, and they've learned that, right? Because if you're talking about, I need ratings, I need watchers regularly, and you're putting out your exclusive content and you're dropping all 16 episodes or all 12 or 10, however many episodes it is, right up front, that's where it kind of, I think it gets tricky. And that's where they need to find ways to monetize. And unfortunately, they're making the subscriber take the hit on them trying to find different ways of monetizing versus, I know now they've taken some of their shows and they put one episode out at a time, or two or three at a time, and then you got to wait next week, you get three more, which, that helps you build people coming back, and that's what you want. But you've built a reputation of being those people that, think about it, Orange is the New Black. Oh shit, new season's out, I'm binging all day. Like, Netflix was the king of binge watching, right? They kind of were like, yo, get in here, binge this shit front to back. I'm gonna get millions and millions of people on drop day that are gonna come in and they're just gonna stream our shit for 8 hours, 10 hours straight. And I don't know where that failed. Obviously, we're not the pros on that, but clearly it doesn't work for what they want their model to be.
I think it failed because Netflix, for some reason, didn't envision that these other companies were going to say, we can make our own streaming services. Why are we putting our shit on Netflix? And then now they start pulling your content, and it's like you're stuck only with your content and some others, and now you have to say, okay, we can't put out the whole season on day one, and I'm fine with that. I mean, Netflix was the only place that we watch TV. You could watch the whole season in one day, so I'm fine with the releasing a few episodes at a time or one a week, whatever. That's not a big deal to me. The thing also, I think that's hurting for Netflix is that they came out as, anybody who's selling you some kind of streaming always have ads, and we're not going to do any ads. And people gravitated to it. I fucking hate watching ads, but I feel like that was always unsustainable. You know what I mean? Because you have to make money somehow. And if you're not getting new subscribers, you have to get it from the ad side. And
Right.
then you also could say, okay, well, you get the premium Netflix and there's no ads, and they're starting to do that now. But like, if you are a customer, if you are day one, you're like, yo, what the fuck? Like, this is not the agreement we made. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
And
So,
if they were smart, build the ads in between, instead of like commercials, build them in between the show, or between the episode. So
mhm,
episode 1 to episode 2, guess what? If you don't have premium, now you got 10 minutes of ads, which you would
yeah,
normally watch in commercials, but now you're going to sit here and these are going to be on. And maybe you walk away from it or whatever, right? But we going to play these 10 minutes of ads and get our
mhm,
money, you know?
yeah. So yeah, I mean, you definitely could do that, but I think that's part of Netflix's problem. But I hope that this, because it don't seem to only be with Netflix. HBO is canceling shows like crazy. They
Hmm.
canceled Lovecraft with Jonathan Majors after one season. They canceled
I know they're kicking themselves, boy.
Westworld. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's probably good for him because at the time it was like, yo, what the fuck? And then now you see him having this whole blow up, and maybe if he was under contract with HBO, he misses these opportunities.
Yeah.
So they're lost his game basically.
I like Jonathan Majors, man. I'm starting to
Hmm.
like the guy a lot more. More that I'm seeing him around in these interviews and shit, I'm starting to like him a lot more. Dude is just superhuman.
Hmm.
Like, he's not, I think the stardom came so quickly. Granted, he's had other movies and shows. We talked about that last week and the week before. But um I think the superstardom, like right now, he's turning into, if not already, a superstar with these two
Hmm.
movies he just had, Ant-Man and Creed. And so he's everywhere,
Yeah.
and I don't think he's used to being in it. You don't have people that have trained you to be in front of these cameras, and I like seeing that with actors when they come up,
Hmm.
because you get to see who they really are.
Yeah.
And this guy, like, I've been seeing a lot of interviews and interview clips and shit like that. Like, he was on a talk show, and I forget whose it is, but they brought his acting coach from college in via video to talk to him, via satellite video, whatever. And this dude, he just lost it. Like,
Hmm.
he broke, broke down, was, it touched him, like. And other stars, huge mega stars, they dictate what happens when they go do an interview or when they go to a show, right? When
Right.
you're still kind of coming up, you don't know that you need to do that. So he didn't know this was happening. Someone else may not may not allow that to happen, may not say, they may say, I'm coming, these are the questions you can ask me, this is what you can ask me.
Hmm.
um but this kind of made it to just look, you got to see that he's a human, and he's like you and I and everybody else, and it was pretty dope.
Yeah. It kind of like hearing you say that, it kind of reminds me of like when you talk about Giannis. You always say like, he just seems like a regular ass
Oh
person. Yeah,
yeah.
he's a 7 foot NBA guy, super fucking rich, whatever. But like, he seems like just your everyday average guy. You're like, yo, you can put Oreos in milk? Holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like any other like regular person, you know what I mean? And it
Hmm.
don't seem scripted, when you ask him a question, it doesn't seem like he has this prepared answer. Like, oh, we got to get better. We got to get in the locker room. It seems like you're just talking to a guy, and I like that. So I mean, I feel like with famous people, regardless of it's sports, entertainment, whatever, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right?
Hmm.
If you share too much, people are like, yo, that's motherfuckers always talking about shit. And then when you don't, people are like, they give you these scripted ass answers. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like that was the problem with To. People would say, how come you guys lost? And he'd be like, man, Donovan McNabb sucked today.
Right.
People are like, what the fuck? And then
Right.
but then if you say, why did we lose? And he says, well, we just we got to get a better game plan. We got to practice hard. People like, they giving a descriptive ass answer. The reason they lost because McNabb sucked.
Right. Exactly. um I didn't get to see Creed yet.
Yeah, me either. I've actually never watched any of the Creeds, so the first
No.
two are on HBO Max. I'm gonna make a point of watching them before I watch Creed 3.
Yeah, you should. I watched number 2, some of it last night. I went to someone's house and they had it on, so I watched some of it, and I realized, it was actually pretty good. It was
Mhm.
actually pretty good. And I mean, Michael B. Jordan still, his lines are still basic, super simple, and I hope, it gets better. But but overall, it was still a good movie. And I'm very interested in seeing this one. I actually want to see this one in the theater.
Mhm.
So I'll probably make some plans to do that. I've never seen any of the Rockies or anything like that, but I think this one will be good to see in the movies. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna make some plans to do that.
I mean, they always say seeing movies in theaters or the experience is just better. Like that was one thing for me. Like I never saw Avatar in the theater, and people were like, "Yo, you have to experience the first one in the theater. It's different, you know."
Mhm.
And when they re-released it, I was like, I gotta get in there to see it, and we just never did. It kind of felt like I already seen this shit. Why am I gonna go to the theater?
Yeah,
but but that theater experience, man, like the sound, and one thing, I watch a lot of YouTube about things,
yeah.
and um I actually saw a YouTube video that was saying like how come some movies are like trash when they use Tenet as an example, like when you watch it at home. And they said Christopher Nolan kind of started this, and a lot of studios and directors are going towards Nolan. And they were saying like basically when they shoot movies and edit them, these movies are edited using like the highest quality products, TV, the sound, everything, So when they edit it, it's like perfect in their environment. And then when you release it, some people are watching on phones, some tablets, some laptops, some TV,
Mm,
some are watching it on older TVs. Somebody's watching it, streaming it from a PlayStation 3 onto a TV that's 10 years old. And though that equipment can't pick up like what they put into it, visually and audio. Um, and they were saying before they would release different versions of the film so that way when the um networks, or whether it was TV, HBO, whatever, when they would play it, it would basically, I guess they were playing it from all the different sources, and then
mhm.
whatever kind of device you got is picking up the one that's tailored for your device. And they were like, now they're not doing that no more. They're like, yo, fuck you, get better equipment. So
Yeah, we don't care. I
So
think
they were
that's
saying like when you watch, you're not experience a lot of times you're not experiencing the TV show or the movie the way that it's intended to, and it's audience why audiences miss so much stuff. And they were saying it's also led to, they found data that shows more and more people are actually watching TV with like subtitles and shit because they're sometimes missing things just because their TV is not able to pick up like certain sounds and things like that because of the music that they put into the film. And that's what I found with Tenet. There's a lot of the movie in Tenet that you can't hear what they're saying. You have to watch subtitles. You have to put subtitles on to understand what's happening.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that makes sense to me, especially because there was a point there when they were talking about going to filming everything in IMAX quality, like filming it in IMAX quality. But if you're filming it in IMAX quality and then you're trying to translate that to somebody's home or something like that, I'm wondering if that's why that got held up. I guess they still they'd have to dumb it down and edit it down, but is it worth the time? Is it worth the experience? Does it change things? Like something, to your point, can look amazing in IMAX quality because you got this drop where you're looking down, you see the city view or whatever, right? Versus watching it on your TV and it's like, oh, you know. So that makes absolute sense. But also, when you're in the theater, you also have people around you, and when you watch something that can have any type of emotion, it changes things. Like, for
Mhm.
example, like a Rocky where you're watching, or Creed where you're watching a fight, and you don't know how it's going to end. You don't know, you get to see the, oh, even though it's a movie, but there's a big hit, and his eye gets rocked, blood, they give you the blood and gore, and you're like, ooh, and everyone's like, oh shit, you don't get that when you're at home sitting just watching yourself or
Yeah.
just watching with one other person. The two of you might think or say the same thing, but it's not the same as a whole room of people with the sound blaring and you hear, oh, like it's just definitely a different experience.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I remember when I saw Avengers Infinity War, in that scene where they're fighting in Wakanda and then Thor comes out of the space beam thing, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
When like people went nuts, and like it felt different, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And then he's like, "Bring me Thanos," or whatever. And then when I rewatched it at home, like it didn't have that same feeling, even though like same content, but it just like when with just me watching, it felt different.
And when they came back, what was the last Avengers? The last Avengers Endgame?
In game.
When right before the last scene, when everyone starts popping in and shit, and then Spider-Man pops in and everybody's like, oh, like, yeah, you just don't, it's not the same.
Yeah,
It's not the same.
that shit got ruined for me. I was so mad because my cousin he went and saw it the night that it premiered, like on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever. And then he went on Twitter and was like posting about it. And he posted, "Yo, when Falcon said on your left," I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck?" So when it got to that point, like I already knew that was like I didn't know like how it went down or whatever, but I knew like that was gonna be like a big moment. So it didn't have that big of an impact for me. I'm like, I was so fucking mad. So now like when shit come out, I be like strolling fast, like trying to make sure I don't see it when I'm on social media.
Yeah, that's when I watch my guilty pleasures. Like I watch the challenge and shit, and I don't want to know who got eliminated. That week, I'll be swiping through Twitter and I'll be like, "Oh shit, that's a picture of so and so." Let me keep going. Shit. Since we're here, you been watching anything else?
Just the regular stuff, man. Last of Us, that show, man. Yo, the people who created that show, somebody needed to like punch them in the face, yo. Like every week is like emotional as fuck, yo. Like I'm like, yo, I can't keep. I'm a person, yo. You can't keep doing this shit to me. You know what I'm saying? Like fuck, man. It's so good, man. Like it's so like I almost wonder if like I told you I have the game, I just never played it. It came with my PlayStation. And I'm kind of almost glad I didn't play the game because I'm going into every episode blind. When I watch reviews on it, I only watch channels that do like spoiler warnings. Like they'll do like a review, and then at the end they have like a spoiler section that talks like goes like more in depth, and I cut the video off at that point.
Right.
And so every episode, all I got is what I saw in the preview from last week, and then what I watched in the episode. And yeah, it's really good, man. But it's super fucking emotional, man. Like, god damn. Like, but yeah. So I've been watching that Survivor. I checked out a couple of documentaries. I watched that documentary on that lawyer in South Carolina, the Murdaughs, who killed his wife and son. He just got found guilty and sentenced to life this past week. I watched that on Netflix. That shit was fucking crazy.
I bet.
I also watched the Bernie Madoff documentary on that, or not documentary. It's kind of like a docu-series kind of thing on Netflix. That shit was, man. It's to do crime and like be rich and white in this country. It's just different, yo. It's different, dog. Like I'm thinking about like every movie I've seen with like drug dealers or shit you read about in the news, and you watch The Wire, and I mean, Steve, they literally have one part where they talk about some guys, this French investor. He's talking to this dude who's trying to get him to invest with his own company, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm investing in somebody else." And
Right.
he never loses. He's getting me money like this, and the dude is like, "What?" And so they go to their like math person who works in their investment firm. They're like, "Yo, we need you to come up with investments that get these kind of returns like every year without losing." And he's like, he starts running the numbers, and he's like, "You can't, and unless it's a Ponzi scheme." And so he finds out that it's Madoff. He starts doing all this research. This motherfucker sends this huge report to the SEC. Yo, you got to look at this shit. I'm almost certain this dude is running a Ponzi scheme, da da da. And you know what the SEC does? They open up an investigation, and somebody from the SEC in Washington, D.C., they call Bernie Madoff in New York, and they say, "Hey, we got a report that you're running an investment firm and you're not registered as an registered investor. And Bernie says, I don't have an investment firm. And they say, okay, appreciate it. Done. Case closed. No investigation, no FBI, no kicking in the door, no subpoena, just a phone call. Hey, Steve, somebody told me you're wearing a white hat on your podcast. I'm not wearing a white hat.
Yeah.
Like, close the book on that one.
Yeah.
That man, it's just different, when you're rich and white, I guess. I gotta start. If I do any crime, it gotta be white collar.
Yeah, well, you're still not. You're still missing one part, one piece to that. He's got to be more than your collar that's white. Yeah. So I've been watching. I don't watch the fun stuff, the smart stuff like that, the documentaries and stuff, which I need to get to some of them. There's so many that I have just there, but it's like I don't really get time to sit down and watch TV fully focused to think where I'm not going to fall asleep because that's usually my nighttime shows and shit. So, but I've been watching, just some, my messy shit on Netflix. There's one called Perfect Match.
I keep seeing that. It keeps popping up for me. I'm pretty sure it's because I watched The Circle, and I keep resisting clicking on it. But it's been on my. It keeps getting recommended to me.
It's messy, man. I like it though. I like that. I like watching them crazy ass people. But like you said, they're all filmed in London, which I didn't know. And so there's a lot of British people or a lot of European people in these shows. So, but I've been watching that Perfect Match, and it's worth it. I need to get back to Outer Banks. Outer Banks season 3 came out. Did you ever watch Outer Banks?
Nope, that one keeps getting recommended to me as well.
That's another one. Netflix. That's another one that's good. And that's another one, like you said, like the first season of it, I don't think I've ever seen anybody comment on it until the second season was out. So from a Netflix standpoint, when you're watching these shows and you're on that second, third season, and you're like, oh, good, they didn't get cut. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know why they're looking strictly at numbers, because some of this stuff just creeps up on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been watching that. There was something else I watched that I wanted to talk about, and every time we get on air, I completely forget. But Chris Rock Selective Outrage, go ahead and watch that when you get a chance. You'll definitely like that. I know that. Outer Banks. I finished The Challenge. That's one of my other guilty, sloppy, messy shows. But that's it, man. I can't think of anything of the other one that I wanted to talk about. When I do, I'll bring it up. It just won't be during this during the bingeable segment.
Yeah. Now, also, I watched. I was waiting to tell you. I watched Sweet Tooth, and I don't see how you watch that shit. I fucking hate that show. I hate the kid.
Oh, okay. Damn, you just got to that?
Yeah.
That was like,
oh my goodness.
That had to be like 50 episodes ago.
Yeah, that I fucking hate that kid. I keep, like, every episode I'm thinking, like, this kid needs to be deleted. Like, I can't take him anymore. He's so fucking annoying, and he's the main character, so I know ain't nothing gonna happen to him. Oh my goodness, that kid is fucking annoying, man.
Yeah, you can stop watching that. I stopped watching it. There's some stuff that I gotta get to Snowfall. There's so many shows. You know what it is? There's so many shows that I started at one point, and now to go back, I would have to start at the beginning because I don't clearly remember those first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So examples: Snowfall, Your Honor. Those are 2 that everyone loves, and I think Your Honor was good. I don't know why I stopped watching it.
It just came back for season 2.
Snowfall, same shit. I don't know why I stopped watching it. I just think it became a time thing. And there's another one that I want to get to, similar to those 2. Oh, Mayor of Kingstown.
Kingstown, yeah, with Jeremy.
So, And so same thing happened with that one, right? Like I watched the first 2 episodes and then I stopped watching. Then EJ talked about it. And fast forward, I just started it again. So I watched 5 episodes this time, but now I haven't watched any in like 2 weeks. So now I'm like, damn, I want to go back to it, but I don't want to start at episode 6. You know what I mean? Because I might forget something. So that's the
Yeah,
shit that be happening. That's the shit that be happening with these shows. But
yeah,
I'm gonna get to them. Snowfall is one that I want to catch up on. And Your Honor, I think that one's probably quicker because there's only one episode or one season, and then now this one.
yeah. It's like 10 episodes one season, for Your Honor, and then the new season, I think they're only 2 episodes deep so far, I believe. So
I'm gonna probably just take like I'm gonna just take like 3 vacation days midweek midweek when the kid is supposed to be at school and just sit and fucking binge watch
yeah,
TV for 6 hours a day. You know.
yeah. I mean, it's so much content out there, So I mean, that's one thing I do like about, like, if you watch something that's been on for a while that didn't get canceled, you can kind of binge your way through it. Like I watched I don't know if I talked about it last time on the pod or not. Last time I wasn't on last week. The show called Dead to Me on Netflix. It's with Christina Applegate, Kelly Bundy.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I watched that, and it's kind of like a comedy, but it's not really. Um, and it's just okay. If it was one of those shows that I had to wait like each week for an episode, I don't know if I would watch the whole thing. But
Mm-hmm.
watch, like, binging it, it was okay. And then also in season 3, I was like, yo, like she gained like a bunch of weight, and I'm like, is her
Christina.
hair just like, because they say she's pregnant in season 3, and I'm like, is this just because she's supposed to be pregnant? Because she just found out she's pregnant in the show, so like, why is she like put on so much weight? And then I googled it, and it said that she did an interview, and she said that she has MS, and as a
Oh
result of
shit.
the medications that she has to take, it's made her gain like 40 pounds. I was like, damn, that sucks, Joe.
How many episodes are there of The Last of Us right now?
This tonight will be episode 7. I think tonight is episode 7.
Okay. Yeah, because I gotta watch that one too. And Succession is another one.
Yeah, that comes back March 26th.
Succession's another one that every time I go back to it, I end up starting at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just so much TV and not enough time.
So what you could do for Succession is that they've already announced that this season is going to be the last. So
And just wait.
So you could wait until this season ends, and then once you get like that binge time, you could just kind of, knock out 4 seasons like over a course of time.
Or I could try to catch up before this last season. This way I get that feeling at the end like everyone else. You know what I mean? Because people are gonna be fucking posting about it left and right, and you just don't get that. You don't get the same feeling when you watch it,
Yeah.
A year later and shit after
Yeah.
everyone else is done. You're like, yo, I finished Succession. And people are like, oh yeah, it was good, right?
Yeah, that shit was crazy, yo. Like the season finale of season 3, man. That, like I said on the pod at the time, like that shit almost had me upset because like it was so good. It's like you can't wait until next week, and it's like, no, actually I gotta wait until next year. Like that, It was crazy the way it ended, yo. Like, man, that fucking chef's kiss. Like that shit was amazing. The way season 3 ended, man.
Sometimes those cliffhangers make me mad, yo.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get me. I'll be like, come on, man. Give me a little bit of a cliffhanger. Don't hang me all the way the fuck out there. Like that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
What else is going on? I heard there was something that happened this week with wasn't there something with Biden where they faked some shit, made it seem like he said something he didn't really say or some wild ass shit. I saw a video of it on Instagram.
I didn't see anything about that. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't recall saying that.
Yeah, and it might not have been. Maybe it wasn't that big. And it might have just come up on my timeline because I got some stupid ass MAGA heads that that are friends of mine because they're small town and they don't understand the reality of what's going on. But allegedly there was something where I think somebody faked a video of some sort and made it seem like he said something that he didn't, that really never didn't happen or something. But whatever. What else is going on in politics, or is there anything going on in politics?
I mean, it's not like I told you guys at the beginning of the year. It's not going to be much political shit happening just because we have divided government. So Republicans ain't going to pass shit that Biden wants to sign. So the only real thing that we're waiting on is the debt ceiling. And then at the end of this year, at the end of the fiscal year, is them passing a budget for next year. Like, other than that, ain't really going to be much happening out of DC. But this week specifically, we had the loan forgiveness, the student loan forgiveness case at the Supreme Court. So the justices heard oral argument over that case. What we're waiting, we won't find out the result of it until June, but it's two possible results that we're looking at. And one of them is because this case is basically on what's called standing. And standing in the legal world essentially just means like you have a dog in the fight. So like, I can't sue for something that doesn't impact me at all. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so this case is at the Supreme Court basically saying that the people who sue don't have standing. They shouldn't even be allowed to sue. So we shouldn't be hearing this case at all, and let's keep it moving. The Supreme Court will either say yay or nay, they don't have standing. So if they say yes, they do have standing, then they'll send it back down to the original courts, and it has to kind of work its way all the way through the cycle again. Or they could go the other way and say, yes, they do have standing, and then because we think they have standing and we've heard enough, we can decide the case on the merits, meaning that we think they have standing and no need to work it through again. We already heard it, so let's decide it, and then go from there. So we'll see what happens. I listened to the oral arguments of both because there's two cases. It's the case of the states, the state Republicans who are suing the Biden administration, and then there's two individual student loan folks that are suing the Biden administration. Listening to the arguments, the case of the two individuals, their case seems extremely weak. So I think that they're going to lose. They're just going to get kicked out. I think the state's case, it also seems kind of weak as well. But I think they got a better shot on that state side versus those individuals. But if I had to guess, I would say it sounds like this thing is probably going to be a 5-4 decision in with them saying Biden overstepped his authority in forgiving student loans. So just based off what I heard in the oral arguments. And part of the thing is that what the Supreme Court has done since like the mid-Obama years, I'll say, is they created this new legal doctrine that they call the major questions doctrine, which is something they just made up in the mid 2010s, and essentially the way it works is to not kind of bore you more on it or whatever, that when Congress passes big legislation, right? So for example, when Congress created the EPA, they passed the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and they created the EPA under Republican Richard Nixon, by the way. So what they did was they said, we're going to give the EPA the power to regulate air and water, right? And that's kind of it, super broad like that. And part of the reason they did that is because Congress is made up of people who are farmers, and some are doctors, some are lawyers, some are just some guy who thought, I can do that job. I'm going to run, and they're not experts in environmental affairs. And so the EPA, they assume it's going to be ran by an expert appointed by the president, and they're going to have experts who work all throughout the building. And then these people will say, this is how much methane in the air is acceptable. This is how much carbon dioxide or this chemical or whatever, you know what I mean? And they'll regulate the air. So when they pass these rules saying they're regulating methane or whatever kind of chemicals and gases and things like that, the Supreme Court says, we're not sure Congress meant to give them this much authority. And so since they didn't, we're going to say this is considered a major question, and we're going to strike this regulation down and say, if they want to regulate this thing, they got to wait for Congress to give them actual authority to do so. And we have the same thing that happens in the student loan forgiveness. There's a bill that passed in 2003 called the HEROES Act, which it was the bill itself was around like veterans, or not veterans, like military people who deployed and debts and things like that. as part of that bill, it gave the Secretary of Education the authority to waive or change. It uses a different word, but like waive or change any Chapter 4 debt or something like that, or whatever, basically student loan shit. And it doesn't give amounts. It doesn't say this. It has to be. It says like he can waive or change any Chapter 4 debts in an emergency. It doesn't say what kind of emergency it has to be. It doesn't put any caps on numbers and things like that. It doesn't say the people have to meet certain criteria. It just says he has the power to do this. That's it. And the Supreme Court is saying, well, did Congress mean for him? Because this student loan thing is going to be like $500 billion. Did they mean to give the Secretary of Education the power to change $500 billion in money? That's a major question. So we might have to send this back, So we'll see what happens in June. But that's the way it sounds,
So the likelihood of that. Now, how long have we been without student loans? Probably almost 2 years now, right?
Since March of 2020.
Okay, so 2 years.
3 years.
Oh, March 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Get rid of the shit.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Like, the only people that are paying student loans today are the people that are like, all right, I'm going to get ahead while my shit is, pause and not have to pay this fucking interest and shit. Right. Mm-hmm. Which I suspect in the world that we live in, that percentage is extremely low. Mm-hmm. Extremely low. Get rid of it. Yeah. Get rid of it. It's not, and I don't know, I don't know that it makes sense to do it going forward, right? Because now, I mean, then you'd be giving everyone free education or, whatever, but looking in hindsight, we're not missing the money. I don't think we're missing the, they're missing the money, the government. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but whatever. And maybe you set it to where you get rid of what's standing now, and then moving forward, student loans are only necessary for, or only available for, secondary education, or beyond just your normal community college or whatever, right?
Right.
Continuing education beyond that. So I don't know. I don't know how you, but I don't think we're clearly they're not missing it. If it was that big of a detriment to our society, or our or the money aspect of it was so impactful, there's no way that this shit would still be paused.
Right. No and way. Then the two individuals that are suing, one of them is their last name is Brown. The other one, I don't remember the name. Let's just call him Smith. So basically what they're suing for is Brown got $10,000 in student loan debt relief. Both of them have student loans. Brown got $10,000. Smith got nothing. And so they're suing. They have the same lawyer too. So which makes no sense, because the lawyer is suing to stop the student loan forgiveness. And it's basically some right-wing group who got them to sue. And their lawyer is being paid for by this right-wing group. That's why he's representing both of them, even though if he wins, the one who got money gets nothing, and then the one who got nothing still gets nothing. You see what I'm saying? So that shit makes no sense. Or, but the argument that they're making is that whenever the government does new regulatory policy, they have what's called a notice and comment period, where the public gets to weigh in and say, this is what I think about this thing before they make a decision, right? And in this case, the Department of Education didn't do that, right? And so they're saying, because the Secretary of Education didn't have a notice and comment period, that makes this ruling that he passed to forgive the student loan debt, they have to get rid of it because he didn't follow federal regulations. Although in the law, in the HEROES Act, the law where the secretary is drawing his power to do student loan forgiveness, after it says the secretary has the power to waive or change any Chapter 4 debt or whatever the fuck, it says, and he has the power to waive notice and comment. And in his letter where he signs a thing, he says, I'm waiving notice and comment. So again, why are we here? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
But
why we're here.
Yeah, no, I know over here. I mean, Joe Biden has a D after his name, so you know. So yeah, so like I said, we'll see what happens, man. So that was in the Supreme Court this week, and likely in June, we'll get an answer. But like I said, I listened to the oral argument live, all 3 hours of it, and even the Republican justices were like tearing this lawyer up, like the one who was representing the two people or whatever,
Mhm.
And they're like, I don't understand, what when you say da da da, and he's like, oh, Your Honor, blue 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 blue, and then Ketanji Brown Jackson was like, wait a minute, because see, I thought you were arguing da da da, but then you just said to Justice Barrett yada yada yada, so now I don't understand why we're here.
That's what happens.
He was just getting it from all sides. Like, it seems like, it was one of those things where somebody told him, hey, man, the judges are conservative, so don't worry about it. And he was like, okay, cool. I guess I don't got to study.
Right. Exactly. We got you. Just show up.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like some other stuff we see in this world.
And then the only other thing in politics real quick is Jimmy Carter still in at-home hospice care. I haven't really heard much news on him. It's just that he's resting comfortably and just kind of waiting. It's a waiting game at this point for him and his family, but they're together. And then the White House announced this week that Biden had a lesion removed from his chest, and it was after they tested it, they found that it was cancerous, but they got it all, and no need for like no chemo, no radiation, nothing like that. They were able to just remove it, and it's all good. According to them.
I think I saw that. I saw that pop up on my timeline, or you might have posted that. Let me see. So there was one thing I wanted to ask you from a political standpoint. How much would you say you'd be willing to pay for Lauren Boebert's OnlyFans if that shit was to happen?
Wow. I'm listening to the question like being formulated, and I'm trying to think, and then it gets to the end. It's like, man, I definitely didn't see it taking that turn.
Well,
I don't know, because I don't know. Like, man,
you don't hate her that much.
It's not that I don't hate her. One, Lauren Boebert, I don't find her that attractive to begin with, so that's one. But then there's like this celebrity quality where it's kind of like I might be intrigued, and to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Remember China from WWF or WWE for wrestling?
Yes.
And she did the Playboy joint back in like I remember I was in Japan and that came out, and I didn't find her that attractive, but I kind of had to see it, so I went and bought an issue. I went down to the store on base and I got a copy, and I didn't like what I saw, but it was kind of like a car crash. I had to look.
It brought intrigue.
Exactly. So I wonder if there is a Lauren Boebert OnlyFans, if I probably would check it out, but it probably couldn't be more than like $5-10.
I just feel like that's a better.
Knowing me the way I am, I'm a pretty cheap guy. I would get in on that free trial and then cancel before it charged my card.
Find it on Reddit. I just feel like that would be a better use of her time. I saw a video of her reading something from the Bible recently. Did you see that video?
Mm-mm.
She was reading a piece from the Bible, and it was like she read it as wonton. I'll have to send it to you. I'll have to send it to you so you can see it. But all I could do is think of like, man, there's so much better use of her time than standing here, talking about politics, and that would be. I'm sure she'd make great money. Like that. Like she needs campaign funds. bruh.
You know,
Immediately. And they don't care. Like, them people wouldn't care.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Think of it. So put it in perspective. If she did that, she'd be a hero amongst her party, right? If AOC did it, she'd be like the devil to their party. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then also, wouldn't be accepted by Democrats either, of course.
You know, it kind of it goes back to me and you were talking a couple of weeks ago. It was on another pod that EJ wasn't here, actually, by the way, now that I think about it. And
Shocker.
and I remember saying to you, like, we choose to, like, we don't have to vote for these people, and there was another option in that race, and people, for whatever reason, they couldn't do it. And I look at Lauren Boebert, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Bernie Madoff a little bit ago. It's different, when you're white. And this is a woman who's a high school dropout. I don't know if she has her GED or not, but she dropped out of high school. And now she's in Congress. And I'm not saying like high school dropouts shouldn't, have anything in their life, but I'm like, I don't know if I want them running the country. Like, if you couldn't finish high, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm not saying like, oh, you dropped out of high school, you got to be a piece of shit for your entire life, but fuck, man. Like, I think we got to draw the line somewhere. Like, they shouldn't be doing brain surgery and like running the country and shit. Like there should be certain like thresholds to get to that level, and
listen, put it this
we
way.
let these people in.
When you fill out a job application, it asks if you have the high school diploma. Right. When you look at most requirements for jobs these days, minimum education is high school diploma.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me if I can't work at CVS because I don't have a high school diploma, what makes you think that I could be a congresswoman or congressman without a high school diploma? You know what I mean? Like
it's insane, man. It's insane. But at the end of the day, anybody can run, right? You pay the filing fee and you go out and get your name on the ballot, but people don't have to vote for you. And that's the problem with us in this country, is that, it's always party over politics or party over country. I mean, politics over country, etc. And people say, I'm a Democrat. That person has an R next to their name. Can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, that's it. And I always tell people, I'm biased as fuck. I don't care, right? But in 2010, I voted for a Republican because I was Charlie Crist. I was like, Marco Rubio is going to be terrible. So this Democrat who's in the race can't win. So I'm going to vote for Charlie Crist and hope that I can get him over the edge. You know what I mean? And, but people, I just feel like a lot of people don't vote like that. They're just like, oh, I'm a Democrat, the person's Republican, I can't vote for him. I'm a Republican, that person's Democrat, I can't vote for him. And, that's just going to be, it's already been bad for us, but it's going to just be worse for us in the future as a society, as a country.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. I would probably pay, I'd probably pay like I think $14.99 is probably a realistic number,
Mm-hmm.
but only for the first
hers
month.
would be high though if she had one, because I mean, usually people with notoriety be,
well,
Iggy numbers up.
So Iggy Azalea came in at $24.99. Do you think Lauren Boebert comes in up above or below?
I would say below. So like knowing that was okay. So I $14.99 sounds okay, knowing that Iggy is 25, since she got more notoriety.
And to be clear, I'm only paying for the first month. Like I'm not
gonna be a long-term sub.
Yeah, like it's not gonna renew automatically. And if it does, like month 2, as soon as it renews, I'm calling the credit card and I didn't authorize this. It's an unauthorized charge. And matter of fact, both months months were unauthorized.
Get the login, take a couple screenshots, cancel.
Give me my $30 back. Shit, I might take a couple screenshots and sell them for $5 a piece to 3 people and make my money back. Shit.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, You know, but I mean, I heard that I don't know if it's true or not. You know, allegedly that she used to do some kind of I don't know if it was OnlyFans or whatever, but there was an allegation. She said that she was going to sue the people who made it, and she's yet to do so. So you know, they and when they said that she was doing some kind of, you know, some kind of sex work allegedly, um when she said that she was going to sue them, they basically replied to her on Twitter, was like, "We can't wait, please." They literally were like, "Please sue us," because they were
Right.
like, once
Because
she
then it
sues,
gets out.
opens up the discovery process, and now we can start sending subpoenas and getting your emails and all kind. You know what I mean? So they were like, "Please sue us," and
Right.
that was like almost a year ago, and nothing's been done. So you know, we'll see. That don't mean that it's true, but you know, I find it interesting that you know, you know what I mean? That she said, "I'm going to sue," and they weren't like, "Okay, we're sorry. That please, come on." You know,
Right. Do us the favor.
exactly. So it
Well,
kind of makes you wonder.
well, it looks like I need to do some. I need to do some research.
I mean,
I need to track
they
some things down.
yeah, they just had allegations. They didn't have any like pictures or like account handles or nothing like that. So it sounds like
But
it's something that they've heard, but don't necessarily have like
but
concrete
did
evidence for.
but did you look?
No.
Okay. All right. So the VP of research for nothing. The one thing we need you to do research on. Okay. All right. What else is going on? Your boy LeBron is hurt.
Yeah. It seems like
Um.
he's at that Kobe stage, man, where it seems like those last couple of years Kobe just couldn't stay on the court, you know. And I mean, you know, we have said it countless times, you know, father times undefeated, you know what I mean? And LeBron has been a phenom, like health wise, you know, it's amazing the dude's conditioning and especially the way he plays. You know, he's, you know, playing defense, he's blocking shots, he yeah, hops like crazy, you know, so you'd expect him to be having more problems, especially like when he's hauling ass from one side of the court. Like when you think about that shot that he blocked on Steph in the finals, like he went like end to end, you know what I mean? And you would think that this stuff would have happened earlier, but sometimes that youth just protects you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now he's, you know, what, 36, something like that, and it's different. So
Yeah. I mean,
it's different, man.
it's age, man. It's age. Like you knew it was coming. You could do everything you want to try and you know the difference between him and like Tom Brady is Tom Brady can be protected. Tom
Yeah.
Brady he can prevent contact in most cases. He probably controls contact 90% of the time, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because he can throw the ball away. You
Yeah.
know, does he know? I mean, he was taking some sacks and stuff like
And he
that,
only
but
plays once a week.
yeah, but if he really wanted to not ever take a hit, you know, in his last season, or if he played again, he could just all right, snap the ball and oh, here they come throwing it away. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like he has control of it. And then so the point of that is LeBron does not, right? LeBron has to jump. You know, your legs, your knees, your lower body parts are going to feel the torque that comes with a 260, 240, 250 pound person
Mm-hmm.
falling from, you know, whatever, you know, a 4 foot jump, maybe, you know, whatever his vertical is. So add to that the fact that you could be stepping on people's feet and all this other shit. So um you know, hopefully he gets right. I don't know, they said it'll be a few weeks, but you know, Lakers started to look okay after the trade deadline, and I don't know that they have, I don't know that they would have the West locked up, but
Mm-hmm.
they would be one of those teams where coming in 5-6 seed, people would be like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn,
Yeah.
we gotta play LeBron and AD like in the first round. Like, this is gonna be a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he gets back for the playoffs.
Yeah. Hopefully, man. You know, I mean, I like the guy, so I'm hoping he's in the mix. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough getting old. You know, for like anybody, like shit, man. Me and my brother were talking like, I don't know, this is probably like a month ago, and he was telling me like he was having like an issue with his bladder, and I'm like, oh, did you ask the doctor about this? Nah, 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 and then like after we talked about everything, I was like, yo, it's so crazy, like back in the day when we're having conversations is like, man, what you been up to? Like, oh man, I went to the club. Oh, we went on this trip. Da 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 da. And I was like, now we get to the age where it's like, man, how's your pressure? Like,
right? Did you see a doctor yet?
right. So like, like now I be like everything I eat fucks my stomach up and shit. Like before, I was like a fucking garbage disposal. And now I eat the wrong thing and like I'm on the fucking toilet for 3 hours or something. It's like it's crazy, man. Like just getting old, that shit ain't easy, man.
Yeah, man, it sucks. It sucks aging. I be sitting there like, yo, I can't be tired already. It's only 9:30.
Oh man, Steve, I remember when I was in the military, I would go to work like it would be like a Friday and we would have PT that morning. So like we did 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, 3-5 mile run, come back, work all day. And then we would get off at like 3 to go like on a long weekend for some holiday or something, like a 3-4 day weekend or whatever. I would get off work at like 3 o'clock, go home. I already had the stuff packed up, load up the car. And then we drive down to Miami, 7-hour drive. We get down there and I'm there, go and see my wife's people. Hey, what's up? Da 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 da. Drop her off and stuff. Go to my brother's house. By the time I get over there, it's like 11 o'clock. Shower, change, hit the club. Now, you know what I mean? Like they're like, hey, you want to watch a movie? I'm like, it's 8:30.
We can watch it. I don't know if we're gonna finish it. I don't know if we're gonna like. You can turn it on if you want, but
I don't know. Like it's 8:30. Like if you should ask me like hour ago. Because I don't know. So,
it'd be like
it's
that.
Crazy, man. It's crazy. Like the night used to start at like 11, 12 o'clock, and now is like, yo, man, it's fucking 10. I gotta get the fuck out of here. Like it's 10 o'clock.
As soon as I put the feet up on the recliner, I'd be like,
yeah.
I'd be looking at the movie times and shit, like, ooh, after 7? Damn, they don't got shit that start before 7.
People still go to the movies after 7. Like,
yeah, man.
Yeah, that shit is crazy, man. It is crazy, yo. Like I was last week. I was fucking craving like one of them seafood broils or whatever, like the crab legs and the andouille and the corn and shit. And my sister-in-law was like, they got a place that's down the street in Winter Springs. We can order from there. And I was like, it's like 3 o'clock. It's too late for that because I don't know how it's gonna hit my stomach. So I mean, maybe next week.
I ain't trying to be up all night.
But younger me, I'm like, shit, let's do it.
Right. So get 2 of them. I know, man. I know, shit's crazy. Did you see? I don't know if you heard about this. I don't know if you follow the smut sites like I do, but did you see Tyga, the rapper, who was also Black China's baby daddy? He's in a relationship with Avril Lavigne,
the singer.
The singer, Avril Lavigne. Seems like a odd pairing, no?
I'm confused though. I'm confused.
About what? Is it Tyga?
No, because you said I don't follow the smut sites, and then, like I'm thinking you was about to say he's in a relationship with a porn star or something.
Oh no, I was talking about.
I was like the singer.
No, I was talking about like the shade room and shit.
Oh, okay.
The messy sites. The messy sites.
All right, I got you. Yeah, that seems odd.
Yeah. Well, he's getting a lot of flack, of course. Black Twitter not happy. Black women Twitter upset about why he dating outside the race. I say to that, have you seen how his baby mama treated him? You see what Black China did? She only takes the kids on the weekends from him and from Rob Kardashian. Like hitting him in the head like crazy.
Rob Kardashian.
Huh?
I forgot she was with Rob Kardashian.
Oh yeah. It's all about the money. You know that. You know how that goes. Wasn't nothing more than that. But yeah, so I guess the question is like, at what point do people just allow others to be happy? Like when do we just say, you know what, let this person be happy?
Never. And it's because like it's it's one of those things where people will always have an opinion about anything, right? And I remember my mom used to say, she was like, "Don't worry about people talking about you." She was like, "People were talking about you before you were born. They were talking about you while you were alive. They can be talking about you after you're dead." Now, obviously, it's levels depending on your status as a celebrity and stuff like that. It's just more people, essentially, right? But with that said, people have always had an opinion about what's happening with other people, and social media allows us to amplify our opinions, and especially because we have direct access to those people, right? We can we could hit up Tyga on Twitter or IG and be like, yo, why are you dating outside your race? Like, what the fuck? You hate black women, and he may or may not see it, and then people can do the same shit to her about, you're stealing our men and all this kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those things where people just think like, that they should be heard. You know what I mean? And on anything, it's one thing to say, oh, the country's gonna, send money to Ukraine. I don't think we should be getting involved in other people's country. Okay, you pay taxes, you're a citizen of this country. Your opinion should be heard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't mean we got to listen to it, but yeah, you got a stake in it in what's happening. But what's your stake in Tyga and Avril Lavigne's relationship? Like we were talking about earlier with the Supreme Court. Where's your standing? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like where's your skin in the game? Because now if Black China said something, I still don't think she necessarily would even have a right? But if her thing was coming from like a he's always with her, he's not spending time with the kids, maybe. But other than that, like, shut the fuck up,
Look me in the face when I say this. These same black women that have problems with Tyga out there with Avril Lavigne and with Patrick Mahomes and his white fiance or baby mom or whatever, right? Specifically the Tyga piece. None of them had a problem when Black China was rocking out with Rob Kardashian.
Facts.
It's interracial. I ain't hear none of them like, oh, why is she dating outside the race? Go get your money, girl. Like so there's double standards in everything we talk about, right? And we've been talking a lot about double standards for men versus women. Men go out and they smut around and they're heroes. Women go out and smut around and they're hoes, right? But in this case, men go out and date outside the race and they're you don't care about black people. You hate black women. You know what I mean? They're doing it to Michael B. Jordan. They're doing it to Michael B. Jordan right now too. But on the flip side, it's double standard. Go on and get your money, girl. Make it happen. Whatever it take. Whoop whoop. She tired of broke ass dirty dudes. Like it's immediately that's the reason why. So I just think the judgment, the double standard is just it's a bit much, man.
It is, but I just don't understand why like people get so like worked up, like like I don't even think this is a good justification, but I could almost see it if like this black woman who has a problem with it, like she was in the relationship with Tiger and then he left her for Avril Lavigne, and she's like, what the fuck? Like, but like you're some nobody that this guy doesn't know. He never will know. You know what I mean? Like, why do you give a shit? Like just, how's your relationship going?
Right, exactly. You're single on Twitter. I'm upping my bid to $19.99.
I don't know if that's her. It looks like it, but I'm not sure.
$19.99. I think it's the black glasses that does it for me.
But I mean, the pick on the right, it's pretty compelling to make me wonder if that's her. But you know that I was gonna say the tattoo, but I mean you could Photoshop a tattoo, so I don't know.
That's true. That's true. What else is going on in the world? Um, let's
I
see. We
mean,
talked.
there's a bunch happening in the world, but what's relevant, I guess.
Right.
You still
What
got
else?
Ukraine. They just had the 2-year anniversary of everything popping off in Ukraine. Um, so
It's been 2 years already.
yeah, man, it's crazy.
Where's all the videos?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they exist, but I guess like social media is really like segmented. Like um, if you don't have like people in the United States sharing stuff that's coming from like social media over there, you don't really see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like I remember I was watching, it was something that was happening in I want to say it was the Philippines. I don't know, it was somewhere like in Asia, and people were like, this thing just went viral over Twitter. And I'm like, I've never heard of that until I was just watching this video. Like, but sometimes it's just the those social medias are just segmented like oh, it was when they were saying Ireland was going crazy over the whole when everything was going down with Harry and Meghan, and like black Twitter, like like Ireland's black Twitter was like going ham or whatever. And I was like, they were like, this shit was going viral, da da da. And I'm like, I'm pretty plugged into black Twitter. I've never heard of any of this stuff.
Haven't seen it. It doesn't exist.
I'm not plugged into Ireland black Twitter. So, I guess it just kind of depends on where you are.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And the media is kind of, for the most part, I mean, I would say with the exception of maybe like MSNBC, who, I see they're constantly talking about Ukraine, trying not to let people, forget about it and stuff. But you don't really see it too much in the media. It came up on all media like 2 weeks ago. Or I would say for the last 2 weeks, because, Biden took a trip over there. And
Right.
then after Biden went, like a bunch of his cabinet has been going. So the Treasury Secretary was there. The Attorney General went after Biden. I think the Secretary of State went, the CIA director. So they've been sending like a steady diet of like high level U.S. people over there. And so the trip gets covered. But, it seems like the media is like ready to move on from it.
Are they like actively at war? Like active, like every day something's happening, or is it just like
it's just in certain regions? So like the Russians have like bombed Ukraine, is basically just damn near destroyed, like all over the place. And so sometimes they're bombing places that like ain't really much there. There's
luckily
the heaviest fighting happens in the east side of Ukraine, in this area they call the Donbass area. Which is this area that the Russians are basically trying to take over. They're trying to take over the whole country, but they've been trying to take over that part of the country from the jump. And so they do a lot of fighting. I mean, we're still giving them money and security assistance. We're still giving them weapons. There was a big controversy about tanks because they wanted the Abrams tank, the M1 Abrams, which is a tank that we use in the Army for our military. And we were saying no, we wanted the Germans to give them tanks. And then people were like, the US needs to give them the tanks, like what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not some military fucking guru or defense strategist or some shit, but the reason that we were saying no made perfect sense to me. And it was, one, the parts to repair it, if they need parts, are already going to be in Europe because they got this German tank. And then secondly, the German tank, the big issue for the United States was the fuel. Those German tanks that they could get run off of just diesel fuel, which is readily available in Ukraine. Whereas the M1 Abrams tank that we use, it actually runs off of jet fuel. And so they were like, it's going to be harder to like gas this shit up,
and probably much more expensive.
Yeah. So, but we ended up still sending them some tanks, but they're getting most of the tanks from Germany. But it's just like shit like that that's still going on with it, man. So
I'd have to assume it's probably pretty expensive to get tanks over there too from here.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we have tanks over there already. Like we got forces all throughout Europe, so they would just move pieces like from there. I'm pretty sure it's expensive to move it, no doubt. But if I had to imagine, they probably would like move some of the shit that's in Europe already and give it to the Ukrainians, and then we would move some shit over here to resupply what we gave up in Germany, or from wherever in Europe. I assume. I
got
don't
you. Yeah, I just, I saw a question, one of those social medias videos the other day, a reel or something that was just like, in this day and age with technology and social media and videos and all of that, like we're not seeing a lot of footage,
know.
anymore. And even throughout, if you think about when it first started, we saw some footage, some pretty bad footage. But I think it panned down pretty quickly
Yeah.
and is almost non-existent today, which makes people question, the validity of everything that everyone's talking about and you know, the urgency behind it if we're not seeing or hearing about it, right?
Yeah.
So it just makes you question and
I don't think that you're wrong, and like what the point you're raising is why a lot of times on here and in our private chat, I talk a lot about the media failing, right? It's because this thing kind of gets out of sight, out of mind, and then people think like, is that still going on? Why are we still sending them money? Like, what the fuck's happening? And it's because the media has essentially said, yeah, okay, it's time to turn the page. We're moving on to the next thing. We got to talk about important shit like the Washington Post story that ran this week that went viral and has had thousands of people commenting on when Joe Biden and Jill Biden went out for date night. They ordered the same meal at the restaurant.
yeah,
We
that's
got to get all
important.
over. They both ordered rigatoni with red sauce,
I
and
did see
we got
that.
to talk about that, like and people were going to like wow. I mean, the Washington Post ran this story. They talked to people who were considered dating experts, and they talked to regular Joes who were like, why would you go to a restaurant and order the same meal as the person you're eating with, and what does that say about bloop bloop bloop, la da da da, and I'm thinking like, why the fuck is this a story? Because like the way I look at it, Steve, I'm like, I'm married. Me and my wife have a lot of the same taste. We go to a restaurant and I say, what you getting? And she says, I'm gonna get blah blah blah. And I say, that sounds good. I was looking at this, but I think I'm gonna order that. Who hasn't done that? Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
It Yeah, it is kind of weird. I don't know that it's important for it to be a huge, a huge thing, but you would think like, what are you getting? So I don't order the same thing, and we could try both, two different things. Is usually the take that people, But if you go somewhere that specializes in something specific, then yeah, right. So if I walk into a restaurant, if the two of us walk into a restaurant, we're like, hey, what do you suggest? And they're like, oh, you should try the rigatoni with the red sauce. That's our specialty. That's the chef's specialty. And that's what everyone loves here. But the portions are small. So, okay, yeah, give us two then. Like,
Yeah.
so, but
Or
yeah.
or what about this, Steve? Let me throw another scenario at you. What if I told you that Joe and Jill Biden have been married for like 45 years? She did the cooking. Over those 45 years, she's molded his taste in eating to the shit that she makes. And so when he goes out, he likes to eat the shit that she eats because that's just how it's been. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of goes back to that Tiger discussion. Like, why is this important to people?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
remember that Jay-Z bar? What you eat don't make me shit. So like,
yeah.
why do we care?
People gotta find a reason to comment on everything.
Yeah, like I remember um you know me and my wife went out to dinner to celebrate after we got debt free. Went to expensive place, went to Capitol Grill.
Yeah.
And we're eating, and like those spots are like everything's a la carte, and we ordered, and they had brought our food out, and because the sides are a la carte, they're usually pretty big.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and this couple that was sitting across from us, they ordered their food, and they're like, I don't know what I want, and the dude is like telling them about different stuff, and they're ordering all these sides, and we were like, I wonder if they know how big these fucking sides are, and then that shit came out, and they were both looking like, what the fuck? Because now they got to get all these to-go boxes and shit because they didn't know how much food they, something like that. We laughed at it, but I'm not sitting there like, why would they order all that food? Oh my god, like, why would you get the mac and cheese and the mashed potatoes? What are you doing? Let me write a news article. Like, like this shit is ridiculous, yo. Like, let people be. You know what I mean? Like, these two people they obviously like each other. They've been married for fucking almost 50 years, and you get that age and you just,
it's the easy way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit? We go to when we go to Cheddar's, us as a family, all three of us love the country fried chicken. And we sit in the order and all three of us order that shit. 3 orders of the country fried chicken.
All right, yeah, y'all crazy. Y'all about as crazy as some damn Bidens. there's all right. Well, here's the problem. That's why there's news articles, because y'all motherfuckers is crazy. Y'all crazy. It's rare, so rare that that I've gone out to eat and we ordered the same thing. Super rare. We usually share if we're gonna do that. Maybe the same side, but usually not so much. But I guess, right, in that case, there's also been times where we've gone out and one of us didn't like our plate and we liked what the other person had. Mm-hmm. And then now you only got, a small half portion versus, sending back what you got and ordering the second thing and getting some hachu and getting your food spit in and all that stuff, So, but yeah, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. We like the country fried chicken. Give us 3. And give me some of them. Give me some of them croissants. Them honey butter croissants.
Honey butter croissants, man. That's whoever made that, man. Yeah, whoever came up with that, they're they got to be right with God, because that's just them shits are different.
They're superhero. They're superhero. Those fucking honey butter croissants from Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen are amazing.
Amazing. Delicious. Don't change something about them. Don't change nothing about them. Them shit is awesome. But yeah,
and I be doing some fat shit. I mean, like, let me get an extra little cup of the fucking honey butter. And I be dipping that shit like it's ketchup. I know the waitress be like, this nigga nasty.
Yeah. It's necessary. This shit is that good. It's that good. Like, I remember after we had them, we actually went and bought some honey butter from Publix and some croissants.
Try to make them.
It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, yo.
We tried the same shit, yo. Yeah, we tried the same. I tried the same thing. Not we.
It was not the same. So yeah, they definitely shout out to them on that,
Yeah.
But, like at the end of the day, man, like, people just need to leave people alone, man. Let people just do what they do. Let them date who they date. Let them eat what they want to eat. And just live your life.
Oh, FedEx is here. I get excited when like FedEx or UPS or Amazon comes. It's rare that this shit's for me, but I still get excited because sometimes it is. Like, I got some shit that I've ordered that hasn't come. I've been waiting on for a minute now. I'm getting a little frustrated.
Our neighbors probably think like they can't wait for us to all be gone from the house so they can break in all the deliveries we get. Mm-hmm. But if they only knew, most of that shit is like medical supplies. Here's refill on medication. Here's Tips refill on her. Like, she gets like boxes of medication because it has to last for the month. And so, they probably be like, damn, they always getting shit delivered over there. It's just meds. There ain't no flat screens over here or nothing like that.
Yeah, that is absolutely not mine. I could see him from the window, and it was not mine. It's an Abercrombie. It's an Abercrombie fucking bag, and I don't order from Abercrombie, so not a delivery for me. So all right. Let's see. Anything else going on? Got to see. I don't know if you've been watching basketball. KD's back. He finally got on the court with Phoenix.
He
That
looked good.
pairing. That pairing looks good.
Yeah, I mean it's not. I mean he's KD, so I mean he was gonna shine wherever. It's
Yeah, it's a
just
matter of health now.
yeah, health and can they make it work, right? Is Devin Booker gonna be able to step back because you're obviously not the one anymore, and
Especially since
so
he thinks he's Kobe.
yeah, so that's the thing, can to just to give an example, can Devin Booker become Dwayne Wade and say I'm a star in my own right, but I have to be Robin to your Batman,
Right.
and
Even
you
though
know
I'm better than you.
but
Which I
and
don't know
Devin
if I don't think Booker's better than Durant.
No, he's not. I mean, but if he could do that, man, they're gonna be tough.
It's
They're
gonna
gonna
be
be
Chris Paul's job. Chris Paul's gonna have to be the facilitator, the veteran to keep you know keeping those egos in check. That's the one thing that I do give credit to Spoelstra for,
Mhm.
is keeping the egos in check on that on the Heat team where he had LeBron. And I've always given Pat Riley that. I don't know that Phoenix. I think Phoenix, it's going to be Chris Paul. Like Chris Paul is going to have to make sure that, hey, listen, you're going to get your shots. He's the point guard, right? I'm the
Yeah.
point guard. Like I'm gonna make it happen. You guys don't have to worry about it. Because you still got to feed DeAndre Ayton too in the paint.
Hmm.
Like, he's a young guy who's still kind of finding his way, and he was hot for the beginning of the year while everyone was hurt. So now you're gonna have Booker come back and KD come back, and so this guy's gonna lose touches like crazy. So you got to control that.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, obviously it can be done, right? We've seen team. I mean, we see Golden State. They're able to share the ball amongst all their folks and let everybody still get shots and things like that. We saw it in Miami. We see it or we saw it in Boston with the Paul Pierce, KD, Ray Allen team. So I mean, it can be done, but it's just do those players have the temperament to do it? And
Right.
so especially with a guy like Chris Paul, he definitely is going to have to get guys in line because he only got so much time left to try to get a ring, and if he can't get a ring with this team, it just ain't going to happen.
Right.
So because
Right.
this team is, I mean, as good as other teams are, I mean, with that core, they're a monster. They're a monster. And, who knows what they can do in the future, given what they had to give up to get KD. And, even though, Chris Paul's up in age, KD's like what, 34?
Yeah.
Injury history there. So the window is now, this year, next year, and that's kind of like it basically. So yeah, we'll see.
They should be definitely be looking this year. They should be
Yeah.
pushing somehow. Especially
Mhm.
Steph's hurt right now. Like you can take advantage of that. Bron's hurt. Like
Mhm.
yeah, this should be an opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Even though those guys are going to come back, they're still going to be coming back after sitting 20 games, maybe
Mhm.
more. So by then they should have their chemistry right.
Yeah.
I think Phoenix is a good look to potentially fight their way out of the West. Dallas is struggling, still not struggling. I won't say struggling. Dallas is still figuring their way with Kyrie and Luka, and then the Clippers though are struggling. I
Yeah.
think they were, and I don't know if they've won a game yet since Westbrook got there. I know they started
No.
0-3. Yeah, so they haven't won a game since Westbrook got there. They've lost to the Kings twice since Westbrook's been there. So I don't know if that's if that. I mean, you're gonna have to figure it out. You
Do
have to
you
figure it out.
think? Do you think that it's Westbrook? Like how you get to that point when you say like at some point you gotta because I mean he left OKC and then he went to what was it, Houston, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work out there, and then it didn't really. I mean, he was averaging a
Washington.
triple double in Washington, but it didn't work there. It didn't work with the Lakers. I mean, the Clippers thing is still new, but it don't seem like it's working, at least for now. You know what I mean? Like, do you think it's Russ?
I
I mean, I
think
know you can't. His competitive spirit, his ability, like you can't, throw trash on any of that. But
right.
it seems to not work where he's at.
Yeah, I think for me the thing when I look at Russ, right, the thing with Russ is, uh, even though he averages like triple doubles and or he has done in the past, I think it's the inconsistency that you expect from a superstar. When you bring a Russ into the Clippers or you bring a Russ into the Lakers, you're expecting that if for some reason, you need to sit Kawhi, because he had a rough night the night before, a long night the night before, or Paul George or both of them, that this guy can make that second unit better, or he can come out and even if he's, if they're not killing, you need him to, on that night put up 25, 30 points. You know what I mean? And I just don't think he has it to consistently do that without the overwhelming amount of, because he's still not poised, right? Like that was always the call out when he was with KD and OKC was like, yo, this guy is not poised. He don't know who the star is. Like he don't know when to pass the ball. You get a lot of assists, but if you have a shitload of turnovers, you know, does that even out? So
Yeah.
I just think night in and night out, you're not getting the same game from Russ. And that makes it hard for a team to say, hey, that's the piece we need for us to make it to this next level, because it's not the same. If you bring KD and you're getting 30 a night. Like I need a guy that's gonna what's gonna get us over the hump, 30 a night. All right, go get KD. You know what I'm saying? He might get us 50, but you're getting 30. It's like playing spades. Yo, we gotta make board. Who's gonna be able to make 3 books if I got one? Who do I know is gonna absolutely be able to make some shit happen? That's the partner I want. And I think with Russ, it's not always that, right? With Russ, it's like, yo, we went board. He'd be like, yo, I got 3 and get 1. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the Russ to me. Not again, like you said, not to discredit his ability, his talent, what he can bring to a team and what he does bring to a team at times. It's just not consistent. And I think that's what makes it tough.
No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, man. It's just, I just, as good as he is, I didn't expect him to be like this journeyman type of player that's just all over the place. He can't find a home for some reason. And it kind of makes you wonder if those guys, KD included, Harden, should have just stayed in OKC. And who knows, what the hell.
That'd have been crazy.
You know what I mean?
That'd have been crazy. And maybe he just needs to go somewhere where it's his team and he has good young talent around him. Maybe he needs to go be, remember Kawhi in Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi went to Toronto and now Van Fleet, but Van Fleet wasn't a household name back then.
Right.
Pascal Siakam wasn't a household name back then. Was it upcoming talent? Sure. We figured they had, they would be good someday. Now they're really, both of them are very good players. Mm-hmm. But when you needed that one guy, which was Kawhi, to go in there and make it happen, right? You had Lowry, but I think that might have been one of Lowry's best years that year, even though he played some good years with DeRozan and stuff. But I think you need to find a young team like even a Detroit. Like they're not great. They're really not that good. But they have some young talent that will be good. They have a big man in Duren. I think his name is Duren. If that's pronounced correctly. Brian Hayes, their point guard, is good. Like maybe you need to get Russ on a team like that. The Magic, right? Franz Wagner, not Mo Bamba. We don't have him. Bobo, Paulo Banchero. Like these guys can be really good players in years to come. And maybe you need to see if you get Russ on a team like that where he's the star, he's the guy in the clutch spots, but you got other guys when he goes, 9 for 27 from the field or 3 for 17 from the field, but he can get you 17 assists. These guys are going to knock him down.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
Because putting him with those other stars, if I want to take a night off, like I need you to get me 25 and you can't. That's a lot of money. paying this guy a lot of money, and it's a big name. So, but I like Russ, man. I like Russ a lot, and that again, that's not to discredit him as a player, but yeah, it's gonna be a tough go at it if those guys can't get it right, and it's gonna really suck for Kawhi and PG because those guys already, Paul George already don't get people already be hating on that guy, but Kawhi, you got all the Bron fans that are just waiting to be like, this is the guy y'all been complaining about. He can't win with these. So watch that space.
Yeah. And you've been following the combine at all this week?
No, I saw you
not
posted
necessarily
some
the combine, but just like NFL news in general. Most of it's coming out of the combine because everybody's there. But did you see what? Okay, so I guess you didn't see what happened with the Ravens then.
I didn't.
So everybody's at the combine, all the GMs and the scouts, head coaches and stuff. And they've been doing these press availabilities and stuff. And the Ravens GM, they were talking to him, about like receivers and stuff. And he basically said, like, yo, we haven't been able to hit on a receiver, and so that's, he took blame for it, like, that's my fault, whatever. And then Bateman came out and was like, instead of blaming us, why don't you blame the one that caused the problems or whatever? And why don't you pay 8, meaning Lamar Jackson?
Oh,
and when they said blame the one who caused the problems, other people have said what he's alluding to, even though he didn't say it directly, is their person in charge of conditioning. Because they were saying that's the reason why the Ravens are always hurt. Like, remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, when they had like 3 or 4 guys at running back go out with a knee, and they were saying the way he pushes the players is like too much. He's overextending them and like fucking up their bodies and shit. They fired him already. But they were saying that's what Bateman was talking about or whatever, And so, a lot of people are like, yo, what the fuck is going on in Baltimore? You got players coming at the GM and shit like that, So they got this look, and people are saying they think it's all stemming from the Lamar Jackson situation. They're like, the team's not taking care of him, and it's showing everybody else downstream. This organization doesn't care about us. They're not even taking care of the franchise guy. So what are they going to do when it's time for me? And
they never have, though. They've never taken care of their franchise guys. They didn't stand behind Ray Rice. Granted, once we saw the video and all of that, they didn't stand behind him. They just never have been that organization to do that. And listen, man, everybody can't be Jerry Jones. I know people give Jerry Jones a hard time for being that GM that's in the front and the spotlight and all of that shit. You ain't never, ever heard one of Jerry Jones' players step out of line and be like, "Oh, it's Jerry's fault." Jerry ain't taking care. You heard Dez kind of talk wild because he didn't want to restructure, but he wasn't saying I'm not getting paid. He was like, "Yo, I'm not restructuring." And now when he finished, he left the team or whatever. Same shit, like, oh, they wanted me to restructure, I didn't want to restructure, but you've never, like, that's the difference between, when you have a GM and even a coach. We say this at coach all the time. If a player questions the coach's ability, the coach shouldn't be the coach no more. At that point, you got to make a decision. One of them has to go, the player or the coach. And in this case, similarly with the GM, like, listen, man, listen, I'm paying you. This is your job. You work for me, right? I have a right to answer a question. Sure, he probably didn't make the right answer. And of course, Bateman's going to come out. He's a wide receiver. You know what I mean? He's a wide receiver who's not getting it done, who hasn't gotten it done. So of course he's going to feel like he's the one being targeted. But, from a GM standpoint, I would be the one to be like, listen, all right, get this guy, get him in a deal.
Yeah.
Get him in a deal and get him out of here.
It says here, just to quote it more accurately, he said, it says Eric DeCosta, who's the GM, on problems with drafting GMs, and he says, quote, if I had an answer, that would probably mean I would have some better receivers. We're gonna keep swinging. There have been some guys that have been successful players for us that were draft picks. but we never really hit on that. And then Rashad Bateman comes back. He quote tweets the reporter who's reporting Eric DeCosta saying that and says, he says, how about you? He says, how about you play to your player's strength and stop pointing the finger at us and 8. Blame the one who let. He didn't type the shit. It says, blame the one you let do. We take heat 24/7 and keep us healthy. Care about us and see what happens. Ain't no promises though. Tired of y'all lying and capping on players for no reason.
Yeah, that team is in shambles, man. It's I don't know how you fix. I don't know how you fix that. Like, when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson, who clearly made a statement and was like, I'm sorry, you guys clearly don't give a shit about me. You're not paying me what I want to, what I want to be paid. I'm sitting this one out. They were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. Like, this is playoff football where this guy could have come back, played in the playoffs. They said that he could have played, right? And they made the decision. He made the decision not to play. Mm-hmm. And, could that have led to a Super Bowl? Does he win the Super Bowl and then they not pay him? Like, these are all the things that probably went through his head.
Right.
As a team, as an organization, you got to get ahead of that. You can't allow your players to feel that way. It's general leadership. It's not just a team. Same place in any workplace. The minute that your employees or your workers or your team feels like, you don't care or you're not on their team, right? You're not an advocate for them. You lose them. And that's, I think, if you have one wide receiver saying that, there's no way he would say that if he hasn't had that conversation with other people and other people don't feel that way.
Yeah. And part of the problem for the Ravens is that they're looking at Cleveland, right? And they don't want to pay him all this money like Deshaun Watson because I'm pretty sure all owners except for the Cleveland Browns owner think that this Deshaun Watson deal of $230 million fully guaranteed is insane. No other organization is going to be willing to do that, right? But every quarterback looks at what the last quarterback got paid. And so if you're Lamar Jackson, you're saying the market is Kyler Murray, $160 million guaranteed, Deshaun Watson, $230 guaranteed. I'm better than both those guys, so I need more. Because every new contract, it resets the market. So the market is what the market is. You know what I mean? And so this is what it's going to take to sign this guy. You need to pay him. Now, I feel like the ball is more on Lamar's court, right? But what's going to fuck Lamar is that even though the market is what it is, it's going to be time. I think Joe Burrow is coming up. So once they do Burrow's contract,
he about to
and then
break
once there's Hurts, Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow are both due. So once they get done, and Herbert. So once they get done, Herbert, I don't know what they did with Herbert because remember Herbert and Tua the same year, and so if they gave Herbert a contract like they gave Tua, so like for Tua, we don't have to extend him this year. We can pick up his 5th-year option and then extend him next year. So so I don't know if Herbert has a deal like that, but he can be extended this year. So Herbert can as well. But like once they get done, if their contracts are nowhere near Watson, then it's going to reset the market again. But at the end of the day, man, Lamar Jackson got every right in the world to request to be paid the way that he thinks he should be paid.
Yeah.
And if the market is what Deshaun Watson got, they got to get it done. The thing that's kind of I'm wondering about, and I was going to ask you guys about this. I wish EJ was here so he can chime in on this too. But instead of asking for a deal like Deshaun Watson, do you think he would be better served maybe taking all guaranteed money but less years? So maybe you take a 3-year, $150 million deal, fully guaranteed. You still average $50 million a year in salary, so you're basically the highest paid quarterback, right? But you just got less years, and it's still all fully guaranteed. You know what I mean? Because that's essentially what Kirk Cousins has been doing for the last few years, basically.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it makes sense. Really, it makes sense to me also because after that 3 years, he's not old at that point. And if you don't
Right.
like the way that the organization is going at that time, then you can make the decision to go take your talent somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
Make it to where it's a 3-year. Listen, you know what? I'm not going to ask you for 6 years, 300 million, or 5 years, 250, guaranteed. But what I want is 3 150, and I want to be unrestricted at the end of the shit with a trade clause. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna meet what you want. You want 3 years? I'm gonna give you 3 years. But in that 3 years, I want to be unrestricted and I want a trade clause, a no trade clause. You know what I mean? Like something like that would make absolute sense to me, because you can't give all the leverage to the team. And by giving up, what you're originally asking for in length and money, you're giving them some leverage. So you take some of it back in the sense of you can't trade me unless I say so, which means in the next 3 years, the only way I'm out of here is if I sign off on it. You're not gonna send me off to motherfucking wherever,
Right.
And at the end of it, we're gonna be right back at this table. And if we're at this table and it's not working out, I have the freedom to go wherever I want.
Yeah. And then also too, man, with the Ravens, like the GM saying, "Oh, we haven't been able to hit on a receiver." Okay, that's cool. But teams who haven't hit on receivers do? They acquire them. Dolphins gets Tyreek Hill. The Eagles get AJ Brown. Arizona Cardinals get DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
Like there are guys out there. The Bills got Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
It's not like the league is not full of talented receivers. If you're like, yo, like we seem to not be able to draft a receiver, go get a guy.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Or spend your early picks. They'll talk shit to teams that do it. CeeDee Lamb. Motherfuckers
No,
like,
but I get that point, right, Steve? But like, Eric, you can't. You're the Cowboys. Jerry sitting on his yacht or wherever he was. I think that was the year he was on the yacht for the draft. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting at, I believe it was 18, and CeeDee Lamb's available. Holy what? Yeah, no problem.
Right.
Everybody ain't gonna have a draft like that. You know what I mean? Because you're the Ravens. You consistently making the playoffs. You're consistently in the mix, which means you're picking in the 20s. So the CeeDee Lamb ain't coming to you. You know what I mean? But when there's a guy available, go get him. Maybe you got to give up a little bit more draft capital than you would have liked to get that guy. But now you got your franchise quarterback with an elite weapon. Like here's an example. Mike Evans, fucking DK Metcalf, somebody like that. Spend some draft capital and say, let's not hope this guy we draft is good. Let's go get this guy we know is good.
Mm-hmm. That's a difference maker. That is an absolute difference maker. But you got teams that are being cheap, or they're spending it elsewhere, right? The Ravens have always been a defensive team, right? They've always tried to be a defensive team, and they draft accordingly. They sign in the free in off season accordingly. They trade accordingly, for that kind of talent. Like who was it that I'm trying to remember who they traded for. From the Bears this year, Roquan Smith, right? That's a huge cap hit you're going to take. You're taking an amazing cap hit on this guy. But then you're going to come and complain about not having a wide receiver. They already had linebackers. They had linemen. They had a good defense. Not a great defense, but they had a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
Go spend that shit somewhere else. Go somewhere where someone's looking to move a wide receiver, have the conversation, and make it happen.
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins is available today. Go get him.
Yeah. And sometimes you're gonna hit, right? Like, okay, the Cowboys already had Amari Cooper, and then boom, CD fall in their lap. Great. The Dolphins already had Jalen Waddle. Let's go get Tyreek. You know what I mean? The Eagles, they didn't really have great receivers, but like, yo, let's go get AJ Brown. Oh, you're gonna give DeAndre Hopkins up for a bag of chips? Houston, no problem. Family size bag.
We'll take Here's two. Yeah, exactly. Here's two.
So like go out there and get this guy somebody to throw to. Like, what's the point? Like think about what we're saying for wide receivers and how hard it is to hit on a quarterback in the draft. And you fucking hit. You hit the fucking lottery. You know what I mean? You got a guy who can run and fucking throw. And
a guy that people questioned.
Right.
That you took a chance on, and this guy is doing what he got to do.
Exactly. And you won't get him any fucking targets. Like that's crazy to me, yo.
Mm-hmm. Tight ends. That's what they'll do. They'll bring them tight ends after tight ends. And then they traded one, Hayden Hurst. They had two good tight ends. Trade one away.
And I mean, yeah, you can make the Kelsey argument, but I would say, it was Tyreek. And yeah, I mean, Kelsey's their guy. Don't get me wrong, but Tyreek being there did a lot, and then Kelsey becomes, who he is. You same thing with Gronk and shit like that. You can't build an offense around a tight end. You know how I know? Ask the fucking the Chargers. How many rings did Antonio Gates get?
Right. Yeah. Jason Witten. How many rings did Jason Witten get? How many rings did Tony Gonzalez get?
Right.
Like you could go on for days looking at that. I mean, you have your elite guys that have other elite players with them, but
right. And the Ravens, I get it that their past has been defense. Both of their championships have been defense. The defense you have now is not those defense. You don't got a defense that says, "Yo, we need you guys to just get us 10 points. We'll take care of the rest." Your defense ain't that good right now. So, But you know what is good? This fucking franchise quarterback that you found.
And that you don't want to pay. Yeah, the Ravens are bugging. They got to be like. And where it gets challenging, even more challenging for them, is their division is now starting to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had this time where the Bengals you didn't have to worry about the Bengals. You know what I mean? Cleveland was, but nobody even cared about Cleveland. The Steelers were no good, but now the Steelers got young. They got Steelers were good. Let me take that back. Steelers were good, but they weren't a major concern. But now they got a young quarterback and a young wide receiver, right? You know what that means? They got a shitload of cap space because these guys are on rookie deals. So they're not breaking the bank yet. So that gives them 3 years to build tons of talent behind a great wide receiver that they got picked up in the draft, a really good quarterback they picked up in the draft, and just make that team better. And now it's going to cost Baltimore. If they bring back Lamar, they're going to hit their cap, and it's going to be harder for them to build that team to be solid against a young Bengals team and a young Pittsburgh team.
Mm-hmm. They, it kind of, the Ravens make me think about back when I was in the military when Iraq was first like popping off. The Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, he got in trouble for saying this, and it's true what he said. It's just nobody want to hear that shit when their kids are dying, And he said, "You go to war with the army you have, not the one you want." You know what I'm saying? And this is the Ravens situation here, right? Like you got to go to battle on Sunday with the team you have, not the one you want. And you know what you do have? A quarterback. Fucking take care of it, yo. Like
make it happen.
You keep trying to build the 2000 Ravens ain't coming back.
Right.
So you put something around this fucking quarterback, man.
Figure it out. We skipped one thing that I wanted to talk about that we can hit on real quick before we get up out of here. But John Morant. John Morant is out here fucking wilding. We had a couple weeks ago where it was rumored that a member of his entourage waved a gun or chased down a travel bus for an opposing team, with the plans of getting it shaken. Then John Morant is taken to social media on his thugga shit again. And then I think it was yesterday, the day before, after a game, this guy's on live, Instagram Live. There's fucking guns in the video. At what point? Like, what are you doing? So now he's suspended 2 games, right? So Adam Silver, NBA, has suspended him 2 games. And I don't know if that's the end of it. Like, I wonder if that's just this is your here, take this 2, sit your ass down, and we're going to come talk to you in a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, this shit is crazy, man. Like, I just, it seems like these guys, I say this all the time, like how, like when you, like people at that level it's like they have no discipline. They've never been told no their entire life. They've always been the guy, whether it was an AAU, high school, college, now the NBA, and so it's like they have because they've never met consequences, they don't know where the line is, and so they're consistently like Charlie Murphy said, they're habitual line steppers. You know what I mean? And so rest in peace, Charlie Murphy. But it's like they don't understand like where the cutoff is, and they just keep doing crazy shit. And then, now they get hit with a 2-game suspension. And you would hope that okay, I just got suspended 2 games. I didn't get no pay. Let me tighten up. You hope that that's going to fix it, but you never. Sometimes it doesn't.
I wish EJ was here. That's gonna maybe we should change the title of this to I wish EJ was here. But you know who didn't have gun problems? Lonzo Ball, LaMelo
Yeah.
Ball, right? We talk
Yeah.
about these NBA dads and stuff like that, and a lot of people gave LeVar Ball all the shit in the world,
Big
right?
facts.
But you know what he did? He made sure all three of his boys made it to the league. All three of them. Well, let me see. The third one played. He made it to a team. He just never played.
Yeah.
But 2 out of 3 are household names in the league. One is talked about, even though he's in the G League doing absolutely nothing. And these guys were never in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you got T Grizzly or T Morant. T Morant on the sideline fighting with Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
It's parenting, man. It's fucking
Yeah.
parenting. Like,
I
at
mean,
what point do you listen? You're a grown ass man. Guess what? I still beat your ass.
mhm.
Stop the shit. Cut it out. Like, you fucking up the legacy. You fucking up the family legacy. I don't give a shit about your money. We could live without the money, but you doing this to the name. You're ruining your opportunities potentially for the future by doing this dumbass shit of trying to be a thug. Like,
Yeah.
what point you sit your son down and have that conversation with him?
And part of the problem too is that, like, these guys, they can do, look at Gilbert Arenas. I know he hasn't really been in trouble since then, but he did all that shit he did with the gun situation, and he still got paid a fucking mega contract. So the it's hard to learn. It's hard for these guys to learn lessons because, for the most part, whatever they did blows over, and then they still get paid, and it's almost like it doesn't matter. Obviously there's a line, right? As good as Ron Artest was, like, it seems like he never, like, really recovered from Malice in the Palace. But
Right.
For the most part, these guys, they do shit. It's talked about for a while. Media changes the topic, and then when it's time for them to get paid, they still get paid. The talking heads are going to be like, "Do you really want to bring this guy in your locker room because of the past?" Whoop 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 whoop. And then some team's going to be like, "Yeah, the risk is worth the reward, so we're going to pay him and bring him in."
Yeah, especially him, young kid, great fucking player, has the ability to be, could have been the face of the NBA for years to come potentially, right? And now he's just fucking that all up. Like, come on,
Yeah.
man, you gotta get it together.
You look at 2 situations that you talk about all the time: Adrian Peterson, Tyreek Hill. This essential alleged child abuse. You know what I mean? And they both still got paid. Tyreek was the highest paid. We made him the highest paid receiver in the league until Devontae Adams got his deal. So it's like these guys don't have to take lessons from their troubles because everything's going to be okay.
Like you said, they live in a world free of consequence.
Mm-hmm.
World free of consequence and accountability, and as such, we get these actions. But there's just so much more to it, and you need some of these kids to understand that. Like, there's more to it. There's more than just the dollar amount today. There's more than just I'm safe anyway. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody touching me. Like, there's more to it than that. It's more to it than just being the thug, man. You're representing a whole fucking. We want to be real. You represent a whole race of people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know who don't have these problems? Luka Doncic don't have these problems. Tyler Hero don't have these problems. You know what I'm saying? The teams are going to still sign you. But guess what? There's still going to be some inkling in the back of people's minds that say these people can cause these type of problems, while these people, they don't cause none of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
It just is what it is, man.
You're making it work. Remember when somebody spray painted nigger on LeBron's front gate or whatever? Now, here's a guy, regardless of how you feel about him basketball wise, he seems like a good family man. Seems like he only tries to do the right thing by his family, by
good morals,
etc. Good morals, and that still happened to him. And this is the guy who's doing everything quote unquote right. you know, and you're out here doing this shit. So, you know, how they looking at us from that point of view, you know?
Right. Right. You start to use your free passes, right? Your free parking is gone now, right? So
Mhm.
if he gets pulled over, maybe you had a drink or two, they may not let you go on that DUI because you got pulled over. You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
sure that happens to. We've heard about it all the time. You know, allegedly that it happens to athletes all the time. They get pulled over
Yeah.
and they get let. You know, they get let go. That might stop. You
Mhm.
might, you know, they might have you blow just slightly over the limit. Guess what? We're gonna make a news article out of this guy since he can't stay out of the way. He can't stay out of trouble. Like it's just stupid shit, man. John Moran got to
Yeah.
get his shit together. He got to get his shit
Facts.
together.
Facts.
Let go of the thugism, man.
Mhm.
You're not a thug.
Yeah. Even if you were, you passed that now.
Not no
You're
more.
in the fucking NBA. You're making
Right,
millions of dollars. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
right. Yeah, man. That's all I got. That's all I got. I think we're at a good spot right now.
All right.
So, floor is yours. Without further ado.
Okay. All right, everybody. We definitely appreciate you guys for rocking with us this week on the latest episode of the Castworthy podcast. Before I get out of here, I want to send a shout out to my little brother. Yesterday was his birthday. Hit his 40th. So happy birthday to you, man. Love you. Hope you guys are having a blast in the Bahamas. Sorry I couldn't be there. Also, I just wanted to send a quick shout out, Steve, to my man Don. You don't know him, but he listens to the podcast. He listens every week. He had talked to me recently about wanting to delve into stand-up comedy a little bit. So he finally popped his cherry and did a little quick 5-minute set at the Improv. So I wanted to send a shout out and a congrats to him on taking that step, man. Proud of you. And like we've been saying, man, reach out to somebody, make that phone call, send that text message, let people know you're thinking about them. Whatever that shit is, let that shit go. Don't need to hold that grudge. Life's too short. You can find this podcast on all podcasting platforms by searching Castworthy. You also can find us on any of our social media by searching at Castworthy. On Instagram, however, it's at Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, leave us a like, comment, subscribe, share, follow, tell a friend and tell a friend, help us grow the audience. We greatly appreciate it. And other than that, man, we appreciate you guys for listening. If you listen live, when you listen once it posts, we appreciate you taking that time as well. And we will see you on the next episode of the Castworthy podcast. Hopefully it's a 3-man crew. And other than that, we out. We love you. Peace. Have a good one.